All right. Good morning, college football fans. It is Monday morning again, and we have just finished week 6 of weekend play for the college football schedule. Half our season is over for most of our teams. Let's see how the AP Top 25 treated us, whether we were rewarded or punished for all of our hard work. Okay, so here's the AP polls as we've seen them. You can see that there was a major shuffle in the top 5. Generally okay with all of this, although I still think Alabama, Michigan need to be down there a little bit lower. And I look at this UCLA Utah game. I only really have a few comments to make here. I think UCLA is for real. USC better watch out. They've got 2 games I think they need to be careful about. One is they're traveling up to Utah next week. I think there's a chance for an upset there. And then at the end of the year, this USC UCLA game is probably going to determine the Pac-12 South and the Pac-12 in general. I think all these teams probably beat Oregon to take the Pac-12 championship. All right, so let me make a prediction here early on. Alabama travels to Tennessee this week. I think Tennessee beats Alabama by 14. Alabama just hasn't performed in big games, and I think they're about to play somebody who's for real in Tennessee. Likewise, Michigan and Penn State are matched up against each other. Michigan has not played a real opponent yet, and I think they're going to fall to the pressure as well. And Penn State comes out ahead in this one at the end of that Big Ten matchup as well. I think it helps Penn State that they're coming off the bye at the same time. That should really, really help them. Okay, a lot to talk about here in this slide. Maybe we won't even be able to cover all of it in the time that I want to take. So let's look at a few things that are just odd to me. Kansas State only 1 point win over Iowa State, but they jumped 3 points. I don't get it. The buys, they jumped 3 and 4 points for not even playing. They shouldn't be punished for not playing, but I think they're being rewarded for not playing right now. Texas coming in against Oklahoma. I don't know that any win over Oklahoma, 49 points or otherwise, justifies coming in. I think this is a hundred and something $1 million program getting enough influence and saying, hey, we need to be in there to justify how much money we rake in. All right. Now, what's really not right? Let's look at this Kentucky loss. Right? 10-point losses for both Utah and Kentucky. Utah loses to a ranked team, falls 9 points. Kentucky loses to an unranked team, falls 10 points. That's not quite equal justice in my mind. I'm thinking the SEC sports writers are protecting Kentucky. Right? They're overranking them based upon their overall level of play. I'm going to give you a third example that's not on here. BYU was ranked 16th last week. They lost to Notre Dame, and as I said in my broadcast last week, was that they would fall out of the top 25 if they lost to either Notre Dame or Arkansas next week. That they were gunning to get them, and that was their path to get back in. Well, Notre Dame took advantage of that, right? Didn't quite make it into the top 25 with their 8-point victory, but BYU fell out entirely, right? They're now ranked like 28th or 29th. So BYU falls by 12, but they don't have a big swath of sports writers to protect them, right? And so they fall those additional 3 points. And I think that was about right. I called it beforehand. That's how the game ended up, and they ended up outside of the top 25 for losing to Notre Dame. I don't like it, but that's about right. Same justice should apply here. Kentucky should have fallen by at least 12 points, right? And this is where the inherent bias and how the SEC kind of generally is overrated, in my opinion. It's not to say they don't have the best teams. I still think they do have the best teams, but come on. The last Alabama #1, Alabama hasn't proven that. I've said that many times, right? I think the same thing's true in the Big Ten with Michigan, and they're being protected quite a bit. But I think folks are realizing it. So we transition our thought process now to this Illinois ranking. Illinois has never received a vote in any of the prior top 25 polls. Yet this statement win of 3 points over Iowa, right? I mean, that made national news, right? You all saw it, right? This was the biggest upset of the year to come out. Illinois crushes Iowa by 3 points. So they go from never receiving one vote in any of the prior polls to getting enough votes to come into the top 25. The only real explanation for this is the Big Ten writers got together and realized, A, I think Michigan is overrated and due for a fall. And B, if you go and look at the same comparison I made last week, the Big Ten did not have that many quality ranked teams in the poll. They were severely underrepresented. So this is their answer. They don't even hide it. They just bring them right in. All right, last team on here is James Madison. I don't oppose this one. I think it's good. I think the challenge here is this is James Madison's first year in the FBS. Somehow in that transition, they lost bowl eligibility. They're likely to go undefeated. That will keep their resume rank right here at 54 to 55. And I don't know. I think what's going to happen is because they'll be undefeated, they'll kind of continue to inch their way up depending on the attrition that happens here. And there's just no way to prove it one way or the other. So taking that now, if we look at my ranking system, I'll remind you this is developed off of a 100-point system based upon winning the game, whether or not you traveled, the strength of your opponent, and overall margin of victory that claim out there. So Clemson continues to dominate that. They continue to play. They've played 2 or 3 top 25 teams. They've beaten them. And so, this ranking, this score is pretty well justified. UCLA is making a similar bid. They're playing ranked teams and winning. TCU is doing that as well. Now, I want to throw a caveat in here. In my mind, I don't necessarily think UCLA and TCU are top 5 teams yet. They haven't proven it to me yet, but they're definitely on their way. And compared to what the other schools are doing, especially those that are out here like under 52, these guys have proven a lot more to me than they have. That's out there. I like the way this Georgia-Tennessee scoring is coming in. I think this is pretty accurate. I think one of these 2 schools is your SEC champion. It's just a shame they're going to have to do it in their conference and division play, as opposed to, only one of these teams is going to be able to represent the East, and they'll go play Alabama more than likely for the West champion. And it's really just a chance in my mind for Alabama to take a pot shot at them. It's unfortunate that that's the way those divisions line up, but that is the way those divisions are. So looking down the rest of this, the only thing I'm going to say is I think any team in the top 25 that's scoring under 50 in my system is probably, in my mind, a little bit overrated. I think at this stage, teams should have scheduled some quality play. They should have played a few away games, things like that. There shouldn't be too much trouble to start scoring above 50 on there. So, these guys that are ranked 21, 15, 19, I'm not thinking you totally deserve it right now. And, that's kind of my commentary there. All right, looking at this same data, I like looking at it this way, actually a lot better. You lose my overall resume points, but you get it in terms of a resume rank, 1 to 25, and then lining that up against an AP rank of 1 to 25. I draw the parity line, I draw a correlation box, and then, anything that's in this quadrant becomes overrated. Anything that's down here would be underrated. So you can see it's tightening up quite a bit, especially my underrated teams. They're getting a lot closer to the gray box now. But it also helps me to see the matchups that's happening, right? Alabama versus Tennessee. I'm calling Tennessee. Michigan's playing Penn State. I'm calling Penn State because, I think they're more in this box and more aligned to what's actually happening. I'm really curious to keep watching the Big 12 matchup. TCU, Kansas State, and Oklahoma State right there. Right, this triangle I think makes an interesting play out for the Big 12 championship. Don't think we should forget Kansas. They were down here last week. After their loss to TCU, they came up here. But they're definitely in a spoiler position and might drive some interesting, like, one-loss ties that could come out of there. And there you have it. And I think, the other interesting thing that's playing this week is USC playing Utah. Except I'm not sure I'm convinced USC belongs here, even though both ranking systems line them up nicely. I think Utah has got something to prove, and the game's in Salt Lake. So I think Utah could spoil. But you also can see the USC UCLA game right now, that November game. Could be a pretty impressive game to watch. All right, there you go. That's week 6. Happy to put these together for you. I really enjoy doing it. I hope you do too. I think we all love college football and want to see it played to its very best. Take it easy. Let's see how the week 7 goes. So I make these videos every Monday and Friday. Monday we look at the AP Top 25 and how it changed and what it adjusted. And Fridays we try to come in with just an interesting story or fact about how the teams are playing, the conferences are playing, what's happening in the world of college football. So please subscribe and look for us every Monday and Friday. Talk to you later. Bye.